to this impromptu webinar, and I'm just setting up the YouTube stream. So come on in, take a seat, get comfortable where you are. Feel your feet upon the earth. Feel your feet upon the ground. And that's us live on YouTube as well as Zoom. Welcome, people. Hello. How are you all doing? Good morning, Michelle from Suffolk, UK. Where are you all dialing in from? I love that you're always first in, Michelle. Ready, and it's lovely to have you here, dear sister witch. So today, well, it started as a whisper, and then it felt like a bit of fun to share some holiday photos from our recent family holiday to the islands of Malta and Gozo, where we stayed. And it felt important. It was like the rocks and the megalithic, these ancient deities were egging me on to share their photos, share their vibrations and their pictures with all of you so that you can really connect in with the magic of this beautiful, mystical island that is Malta. So that's what I'm doing. It really is for a bit of fun and also for a serious intent as well, to share the magic and the remembrances of the times before all of the distortions so that we can connect in with that now for these times that we're in on our journey, on our ascension, descension, wherever we are. So welcome. Michelle's ready to go to Malta. Have you packed up your suitcases? It was really hot there, plenty of sunscreen and shorts and shades. That's it. That's all we need. Travel light. Hello, Leslie Ann. How are you doing? I know you're in the UK. Hi, Maria in Denmark. Welcome, welcome. And I can see there are people watching on YouTube too. So hi, Rick in Pennsylvania. How are you doing? It must be, is it 6 a.m. there? You're up early. The sun is rising on another day. How gorgeous. So yeah, grounding into this beautiful space that we're in mid-July as we're hurtling through the year. And I'm going to share, well, it's not just like a holiday snap PowerPoint, but I've created a PowerPoint. I've carefully placed the different photos that I took throughout our week there. We were only there a week, and I'm going to share them with you. But what I want to share as well are the insights and the feelings and what was flowing through me as I was walking the land, because I am an earth witch, and as we walk the land, there's something that activates through the earth, through the ley lines and the energies, through us. This kind of remembrance, this sacred remembering that I'm going to share with you today. And it started really back in 2019. And these words were shared to me through a channeled session with Phoenix Ngig, Phoenix Popiolik, on the 8th of March, 2019. Remember the stories within you, they whisper. Remember who you are. Remember the wisdom that whispers inside you. Remember who you are. So that was part of a channeled session with Phoenix, and back in 2019. And at that stage, I was exploring the feminine in leadership and where the feck was she in all of my personal journey and in the world that I was observing. And part of that, you know, these words have come back to me time and time again, and I'm sure that's part of your mantra. We're remembering because we've forgotten, we've been severed, we've been killed, we've been slaughtered, and the veil of amnesia has been placed upon us. And now we are tearing that off. It's dissolving, it's melting as we remember who we truly are. And part of that reading was that Malta came up. So this was back in March 2019. Malta and Gozo came up to connect with the matrilineal as well as the spring of knowledge. That this is a remembered embodiment of this life to support and bring forward my personal dreams, your dreams on the planet at this time. And that Gozo specifically had galactic codes and keys for me to remember, to be absorbed through me as I walk the land through the sites and not doing anything fancy at all. And that there was also this connection between Gozo and Newgrange and being a druidess at Newgrange. And I very much felt a lot of this. So I had really, that channel session back in 2019, I filed it away. You know, we have these activations and then they're filed away until such time as they want to be activated again. And then roll on a few years. And last year, on the 17th of November, I had a really excited voice message left from my dear friend and witch, Chris, who's like, oh my God, I've just been on this call and this lady was talking about the temples of Gigantia on Gozo, Malta, and that the mythology is so very similar to that of the creation myth of the Cailleach witch in Ireland and how she cast her stones out and created the earth. So I remembered, wow, Gozo, that's the same Gozo that was mentioned in that channel session a few years earlier. So I knew with these two synchronicities that we had to go to Gozo. So I persuaded my husband, the family, that it would be a good idea to ditch the tent. We normally go camping in France, ditch the tent and head off on a different kind of holiday to go to Gozo. And what you're going to hear today is what unfurled. So just checking you can all hear me okay. You should be able to. Blessed by the best. Hello, grand rising. Yes, it is the grand rising, isn't it? So I think that they're the two main aspects of what I wanted to share first as the story before the story of going to Gozo and why it felt really important. So first of all, share my screen. Oh my God, I'm just back from holidays. I'm a bit out of practice here. So this isn't exactly going to be death by PowerPoint. Hopefully there will be no deaths throughout this. It's sharing the beauty and the vibration of this island. So these are anyone from Malta here? I know there are people from Malta in this community, but let me know if you've been. I know many of you have. And this is part of the essence of the boats, the color, the caves, this is Ramla Beach, the sand, the prickly cacti, the rising sun that we caught on our very last day, and the bougainvillea and the jasmine and the flowers are really, really gorgeous. And we were there, this is taken in Marselox down the south of Malta with the full moon having dinner outside. So the very essence of the island is so very beautiful and magical. And I don't know, I feel like it's almost like a forgotten island in the middle of the Mediterranean, that it carries such magic and mystery. And I feel very connected between Ireland and Malta, that we've got to share this beautiful gem with you all. So just to get our bearings here, this is from Google Maps. And here we are, Europe, here's Africa, and Malta's here where the red dot is, just below Italy, just below Sicily. And it was once joined to Sicily and Italy on this landmass. And then here I am over here in central Scotland. And one of my friends also told me there's a ley line from the Isle of Lewis in the Hebrides in Scotland, from the Callanish standing stones that goes through Edinburgh and all the way to Malta. So we're following the ley lines, of course we are. And then zooming in, but also look how it's like this watery, salty Mediterranean Ocean that it's surrounded by. And the alignments here, Syria, Iraq, Greece. Yeah, just a beautiful location. And then these are the islands of Malta, the main island here. Then this is Camino, the uninhabited island. And then this is Gozo, where we stayed. And we stayed in this little, most westerly village of Arb. And I hope my pronunciations are right. I believe the GH is silent. So the way I've structured this is that you'll walk the holiday with me, basically, that in the order that I visited these sites, it was just as we were going about our journey on the holiday with no particular planning. It was just as and when we visited these sites. So the first part was we stayed one night in Marsalocks, actually in the south of the island of mainland Malta, and then went to some of the sites down here in southern Malta just while we were here. So settle in, and I invite you to really just allow the vibration of what you're feeling and sensing to flow through you. And it's 11:11 here as we go into the cave, and this is the cave of Għar Dalam cave, which means the cave of darkness. And I'm just going to see if I can hide video panel. So hopefully you can see here. Show video panel. Oh, yeah, so you can see me there. I was just going to hide this. There, okay, so hopefully you can see the whole screen. So Għar Dalam cave in Malta is one of the oldest caves that you can go into, and this is my family here, my son and the girls. Just to show the scale of this, I took this photo from the very back of the cave, and they found tons and tons of animal bones here, hippopotamus, elephant, loads of different layers of bones that are neatly put together in the museum. It's incredible, maybe a bit creepy, but incredible how neatly arranged all these elephant molar teeth are arranged. But these stalagmites tell the story, of course they do, and the stalactites as well, hanging from the ceiling, of the different layers and levels of our civilization. And there's people that view this cave tells a story of a much older existence of humanity than has ever been thought before. It's also very cool inside, and I loved the shapes and patterns up here. And I realized, of course, our ancients lived in caves. They're so cool and dry, and they get you out of the heat of the midsummer sun. And as I was walking through this cave, I did feel quite a Magdalene, quite a goddess energy. And these are the stalagmites. Look at them, quite phallic in nature, aren't they? And the different layers of the rock as it was carved by rivers and also collapsing roofs as well. And this one, it's almost ghostly, isn't it, in its essence? These different wave formations and patterns and holes, caverns. And Għar Dalam means the cave of darkness. And this is the view from the cave. There's some watchtowers here built in later years, obviously. And there actually were beehives down here too, because honey is one of the beautiful delicacies of Malta. So going in, it was interesting. This was one of the first sites we went to see, going into the cave of darkness, because it is, of course, going into the cave to be reborn anew into the darkness. And they're still excavating this cave, and we went as far as we could, but it goes on. So the story continues. So that was Għar Dalam cave. And the bones, communing with the bones and the animal bones. And then we went to Hagar Qim. Now, I'm probably mispronouncing that, but the Temple of Malta and southern Malta on the main island. So just allow this series of photos to wash over you and infuse you with their radiance and their glory.
Oh, we've got Lalesh League in Portland. Love your name. Beautiful, Emer. I remember Malta and Gozo. We danced in the rain there. So precious. Yeah, it was so hot when we were there. There wasn't a drop of rain. So this portal was repaired, but look, it's the pie portal. It's the two stones with the lid on top. These are significant intentional portals built by our ancients. And that's my husband there, just for the size. He's 6 foot. So for the scale and the size, it was handy he was there. And then I asked him to move out of the way so I could get another shot. Look, you can see him down there. So this portal traveled through to the outside, but this was covered over, they believe, and either corbelled stone or wood and mud. They think it was corbelled stone, you know, the dry stoning, like Newgrange, like Gallarus Oratory in Dingle. They've covered this temple over with this tarpaulin, and yes, it's to protect it because it's limestone. It's two different qualities of limestone, a harder one, a more permeable one. And I felt it meant the true nature of our sun, our moon, couldn't quite penetrate it, like it needed a recharge. And possibly us going there is recharging it. But the portals felt really powerful going through here. And then the various stones and the carvings and the goddess and human figures. So this is one of the carving stones, and this felt like a throne. This is the replica. The actual one is in the museum in Gozo, and others in Valletta, the museum in Victoria in Gozo, and the other one in Valletta. But look at the spirals and look how it's carved upwards. I know there's a name for that. I know in Egypt that's done. The spiral in Newgrange is carved into the stone, but this is raised up out of the stone. Perhaps they're meant to be matched in some way. And then the dots as well, lots of dots. And this is from the museum in Valletta that I took with more. This is the one of the actual stones. Look at those beautiful spirals. Serpentine, like the circle and the dots. So just allow these stones. Before I came on, I was having a bit of a wobble going, I'm no expert on this. I don't know. In fact, I didn't even want to listen to the audio. I found it annoying listening to the audio as I was walking through these sites. So I just walked and went and read some of the plaques. And the message I got was to let the stones do the talking. Let the stones do the talking. Let's see how long I can stay quiet. So in Hagar Qim, or Hagar Qim, there were these portal stones and doorways. It was roped off so you couldn't go right up and right in. But look at that, carved through the rock. And then this is the altar stone, and this is a replica, the actual one's in the museum. But look at that. One person said they see an owl down here. It is, that's an owl. And I see vertebrae. Other people see leaves, vines growing up, and the dots, and then this bowl on top. Because I remember being here as a goddess, as an ancient deity, lighting our fires, walking through these passages in silence, communing with the stones, our ancient ancestors, and with the star beings above. So this is truly a sacred place. Even if it's been, knocked down, fallen down, succumbed to the elements. We knew that when we built these places that they would. This is a view out to the sea. And again, it just shows the height of some of the rocks. They're just massive. And this is where the Venus of Malta was found.
So there are different kinds of statues that are here, now all taken to the museum. Sadly, wouldn't it be lovely to just leave them there? But I understand they're being protected. But look at the hand gestures. There's so many that have these particular hand gestures, hand across the torso and one hand out. And before I came on, I was just doing this gesture. It feels like a power gesture, a peaceful gesture. And look how voluptuous these figures are. And also the Venus of Malta. So there's Venuses of many other countries. This is the Venus of Malta with no head. So this I took from the internet because if I'd known I was doing a webinar, I would have taken even more photos, but it wasn't on my mind at that stage. No head. Does Venus have a head? It's interesting. As I walked through the museum, many of the statues have no head, so they don't know if they did or if it was intentional. And it felt to me like it was a message to connect with our body, to come out of our head and connect with our body. And there's a line from The Dubliners by James Joyce, Mr. Duffy lived a few doors from his body, something like that. Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body, like his head and his body were disconnected. And I felt in that way, was it a prophecy of how humanity would become so disconnected, severed from our soul, from our heads? Or is it a message to get out of our heads and more into our body, which certainly has been my journey? We need our heads, of course, but come more into the body. There's Venus, the goddess of love, and look at those voluptuous breasts, the mother bearing her milk and feeding and nourishing us all, and her gorgeous rounded belly and thighs, just beautiful. And again, that hand gesture of left hand across the belly, right hand down. And here's another one. And you can see more the detailed. What I noticed were the really strong arms and legs, and then these dainty hands. And if there is a head, dainty head. Hello to you. The part of me wondered as well, some of the expressions on the statues that do have heads. It was like childbearing, like labor, like birth for some of them. And some of the information plaques think they're gazing at the stars. I don't know. Felt like a birthing chamber to me. And here's one that's from the temple where we are just now in southern Malta, Hagar Qim. And this is half of her. Where did the other half go? My feeling was she was purposefully plundered. So she was inside the temple. She was our big mama goddess that we communed with and connected with. And here's her leg and her skirt. So that's in the museum. So back to the temple, as well as the square portals, there were these holes that just were so beautiful. And they call them the oracle holes that the priestess sat behind. And it's almost like a precursor to confession in the Catholic Church, a much, much diviner version where the priestess whispers her knowings and her prophecies through this portal. But also there's alignments to the sun and I think maybe the moon that shines through these portals, these holes. And then more of the stones to give you an idea of the structure. So there are lots of different rooms in there. And from the back, just to show these, they draw you in, these portals. Pi, go through the portal, connect with the ley lines, and you're off on a journey to another world. Where does it take you? And then again, the different arrangements of the stones on different levels I see stone thrones and different rooms where they used for different purposes in those times, remembering that there was a ceiling, it was enclosed with the views out intentionally, like picture frames to the sea, to the stars, to the moon, to the sun. And this is the view out as well. There are other archaeological sites, other stones around here. So when you come out of Hagar Qim, then you walk down 700 meters along the coast to this other site here, which is Mnajdra. Sorry for my pronunciation. On the way, you see Filfla Island. Now, this was also joined to Gozo and Malta many, many years ago. They were all one landmass. And as I was walking, it was myself and my husband going to this site, we walked down the path and there was this magnetic feeling coming to me from this tiny island, uninhabited out in the ocean. And I felt like there's an alignment from the temple we've just been at to the one we're going to, and then this island to create a triangle, the power pose triangle. I felt a strong magnetic alignment. So here it is zoomed in. Look at the shape of that. And it reminded me of a Scottish island, which I haven't looked up what the name is, but that shape seemed so familiar. So very magnetic, very magical. And like the stones are vibrating in the Mediterranean Sea. And when we walk down the path, we arrive at Mnajdra Temple. And here's the first portal. Again, the same, the portal stones. And these are some of the oldest temples in the world. They say they're, well, that would be 7,000 years old, 5,000, 4,000 and 5,000 BCE, before the Common Era. And I'm reading a book just now that actually dates them later, of course. Of course they do. Could be 9,000 to 11,000 years old. So in a way, does it really matter? We know we are ancient and primordial and out of this world. But this book, it's by Lenny Regic, and it's called Sirius, the Star of the Maltese Temples. And with her research and her work, she's noted that all of the sites of Malta are aligned to this beautiful dog star, Sirius. Why? Why were they all aligned to Sirius? Was it just because that's where we've come from? Was it to receive the information, the support in building these temples? But I also note that Sirius, Isis, is in here too. Are they connected to the cult of Isis or to Oset, to the Magdalens? It brought up lots of questions, and the answers weren't on the information plaques or in the audio. This particular site is aligned to the solstices and the equinoxes at the portal, at the entrance stone. So the equinox, sun, the solstices. So imagine that, it's aligned to all the different seasons. And I felt a real power walking through this portal, a real energy. And look again, it's pie-shaped, this portal. Pie. So again, here are some of the stones. I was just clicking, and the arrangement of them. Look how beautifully they are. And then more drawings. This is the dot drawing, which they've said is linked to the calendar to record the seasons and the years. And that's a closer up. So because it was covered over, it seems the photos are very yellowy, but the stones were yellowy. And they're all limestone, but because of the quality of the sun, it's actually coloured them to this beautiful sandstony colour. Another portal that's going through to what's like an altar area. It's like the Holy of Holy chambers. Another throne. Oh, how I would have loved to have sat on that. And another portal over here. Isn't it beautiful? And they're round, it's like clover shaped, they call them, the different rooms. And this is the same photo again, but it shows another square portal decorated in these dots. I mean, it must have taken so long to create all this. Done with such care and precision. There's Ian again. Hello. Hope you don't mind. You're on camera. And again, it's to show the scale. So Ian's just about 6 foot. And then it's almost like the same again. And that's out to the sea, out to Filfla Island. And this is the closest temple to the sea in Malta. And then you get these holes in the rocks here as well. And they have some story that they held beams and curtains. But for me, when I touched I touched my hands and it felt like they contained a salt or a chalk or something. That was all part of the ritual. One of my witch friends really felt that crystals were placed in there to charge the stones. And this view, I took this and then I realized, wow, that's the cover photo on this book. It's the same. And look, there's Sirius. So Sirius is visible from this portal, the rising Sirius star. And that would have been, they would have connected. Here is the altar, the sacred space where we brought our offerings and not sacrifices. That's the distortion. I feel offended when I read that. In the pure times before the distortions and plunderings, we did not sacrifice. We brought our offerings in the sacred honouring to Mother Earth. And we honoured and revered her as the birther and creatrix of all. We were peaceful. We lived in harmony and communion with Earth and her elements. We did not sacrifice anything or anyone. There's that stone from the other side. More spaces. I meant to be letting the stones do the talking, haven't I? And these, it's like paving stones. So to be honest, this was a welcome shade from the heat of the day, because then you walk back uphill those 700 meters. This temple is down the hill, so you walk back up the hill to Hagar Qim, and then Filfla Island is on your right, on your left going down, and your right going up. And in the heat of the day, it is sweaty, it is hot. But this would have been a cool haven for all of us to commune in reverence and connect and prophesize. So those two temples, we've got the cave, we've entered the cave, we've gone to these temples that are joined and connected with the island of Filfla. And then I just thought a little sea break, a little ocean break, bring in the water. This is the kayaking trip we did in the Blue Lagoon to the uninhabited island of Camino, where there is a church there to the Holy Family on their return from Egypt. So I had this feeling of this sense that the connection to Lemuria, to Atlantis, to Malta, and then Egypt was at the timeline of how we traveled. And other messages that came through that I just wrote on a scrap of paper while I was there was to be like the Venus of Malta, to be like her, voluptuous, embodied, beautiful, powerful, peaceful, and full of love, to be her. And that really helped me. You know, it really helped me. You know, you go on holidays, you get into your bikini and go, oh my God, I'm in my bikini. Let it all hang out. Let it all hang loose and be the Venus that you're meant to be. And also that the megalithic monuments were a form of grounding the knowledge down upon the earth of stars, systems, origins, stories, and our source. That's why they're here. They're holding the knowledge secure until such time as we are ascended enough, open enough, grounded enough, non-judgmental enough to connect with them, with their source of wisdom. And then I go on to say that's why everything I'm sharing here is from my perspective. So just so you know, that's why I felt these powerful portals were plundered, because there were beings who didn't want this knowledge connected to the ley line systems of Earth to be discovered. So this is, I think it's called the mouth of God, but of course for me it's the mouth of the goddess that we kayaked through, and the Blue Lagoon, which is very magical if anyone's been there or swam there or just lounged like a starfish as I did and floated in the salty blue sea, or if you dive deep like a mermaid. Very beautiful. What do you mean, Trish? You say no and photo. I don't know. No photo. And there we are. So, oh, I forgot to get it, but there was a stone I found on there, this rounded black stone. And I don't like taking stones from places, but all the stones here were white and grey. And then I just, by my feet, found this egg-like black stone that I had to bring home. It was like, take me home with you. And it's out in my garden now. So that's the island of Camino, which is very, very beautiful. We didn't go on, we just went to the shore here. Very busy, the Blue Lagoon with tourists. But we were on our kayaks and we went to the secluded places. So now, as Emer the Earth Witch is walking the lands, she's noticing the array of magnificent churches that adorn Gozo, Malta, and they are huge. They dominate the landscape. They are taller and rise taller than any other buildings because the houses are very square and sit neatly into the landscape. And then you have these churches that are like, hey, look at me. I am a church. Come inside and see what you see. So this is Ta Pinu in Gozo in Malta. And it's interesting because it was my son who actually found the place where we stayed. He was looking online, he's 12, and was like, how about there? It looks nice. So we ended up staying in this town of Arb, which is the most westerly town on the island of Gozo. And it's where Carmine Grima in 1883 had a vision of Mary, Mother Mary. And she spoke to her through a painting that's inside this church, which is so magnificent and ornate and cool as well. And it's a whole pilgrimage place. It's a place of pilgrimage where people go. So I went here, we could walk from our villa, our farmhouse where we were staying, to this place. So I went once with my husband, and then my mother was over as well. I went with her. And we sat, it's built around the original chapel that's inside. And as I sat there, I just felt the conflict within me, the conflict as the Earth Witch that I am now walking the lands. Why is there such a dominance of churches on the landscape that are so huge and rich and grand and very beautiful and ornate, all the different styles? And also for this lady who had the vision of Mother Mary. It's like, it's okay to have the vision of Mother Mary or of certain deities, but it's not okay to hear voices or speak with spirits, or hasn't been in her story. You know, it felt the conflict there and the incongruence. Worship these deities and you're okay, you're safe. Your life will be spared. Worship these deities? No. No. Your life may not be spared. So I felt a real conflict starting to arise within me, and confusion as well. And what I felt the real presence of the Knights of Malta that have funded the islands. Were given to the Knights of Malta, or the Knights of St. John, in the 1500s. They were gifted by Charles V, I believe, King Charles V. And there was this sense of a narrative that wanted to be upheld and maintained across the islands. And now I feel this isn't unique to Malta. You could apply this to any of our countries where we live, perhaps, but it felt like a really strong, domineering factor of this is the narrative. Go on pilgrimage, speak to the Virgin Mary, Mother Mary. I love Mother Mary. I've had visions of Mother Mary, and of course the Magdalens and all of that. And this connection with the Knights of Malta, the wealth, the dominance, the maintenance of a narrative that shall not be swayed from, and the Roman Catholicism. The Vatican felt like a very Vatican feeling. And should I say it? Terrorism. Yeah, I wrote down mafia, actually. Feels scary to voice that. That's what I felt, like this connection, this string, this through line of connectedness with these massive structures and the narratives. So it's very interesting that where we stayed for those 7 days was in this town that I hadn't known of before. That is a pilgrimage site and is very beautiful and very holy and confusing. So I felt I had to include that here today. And wow, I can feel almost waves of wooziness. The other aspect is the painting through which Mother Mary spoke to Carmela or Carmny, the Pope. The Pope visited last year and gifted this church, this basilica, a golden rose. A golden rose. It's beautiful on the vine and curves up almost. It is snake-like, and that sits now beside the picture in the chapel. And when I saw that, I could feel myself getting angry, going, that's my rose. That's my rose, and I'm reclaiming it back. It was like similar to the tabernacle, the golden tabernacle, all that's been stolen and suppressed and hidden away and locked away. These are ours now to reclaim. The golden rose is ours now to reclaim and embody once again. It's already embodied, to express into the world. So that was the other aspect of Ta Pinu. Hope you're all still with me, because we're now going on to Gigantia, which is the final temple that we're exploring today. Gigantia is the reason why I wanted to go to Malta on holidays, and because of the mythology and because of the stories surrounding these stones and the connection with the Cailleach witch and to Ireland. So I was very excited, and I felt like the pull of going to many of these sites, like, come on, dear child, come home, come visit us, we're waiting. And also on the other side, I was like, why am I here? What are the messages? What am I meant to be learning? So I was getting very frustrated and impatient. So finally we made it to Gigantia, these temples on the island of Gozo. And it is truly amazing and enormous and magnificent. And this is the mythology and the museum attached to the temple, of where it means that it is the woman who carried large stones that built Malta and Gozo. And she carried these and built these sites, basically. So she's connected with a few of the sites, but also Gigantia. So for me, that's symbolic of the strength of the feminine that's been immortalized here in the stones, that's coming back as we come back into balance. All of us, all of humanity. So here are some photos from Gigantia. It was very hot as we wandered through these stones. And there's 2 entrances. And again, in the book by Lenny, by Sirius, the star of the Maltese temples, she believes the different rooms were rebuilt to align with Sirius as it proceeded through the skies. And there's a narrative that the big stones were pulled across these little stones to be built. And for me, they felt like eggs. Eggs. This is the goddess culture. It's eggs. It's the phallic stones. And it's the eggs representing our fertility and creation. Don't you agree, Riley? Yeah, he does. So this is the height of them. They're huge and ginormous. And you can see some gaps here. You can see people, shapes in them. And again, the portal and the alignments, looking out onto the landscape around. And these holes again. Some of them were holes that went right through. Some were just concave shapes that you just have to put your hands in and feel the inners of the stones. So Gigantia, there's not as many photos here of Gigantia. Perhaps it was just too hot. But I felt a real sense of the plundering of the place. I was so excited to go here. So I built up all my expectations. And when I entered through this portal, this would have been a pie portal as well, I just felt such anger and grief that these places had been purposefully plundered and ruined and broken apart. And the statues and the goddesses and the human representations were broken apart because the people knew how powerful these portals and alignments were to maintain our health, our energy, our connection to source and to all. So it was disappointing on my part to go to this amazing place and then to feel again this conflict within me of this grief, of this hardship that had been suffered when we had spent so long building these magnificent temples under the guidance of our ancestors. And then in came other forces that wanted to distort and twist the narrative. It was like gut-wrenching stuff. So once I got over that, I knew that we can rebuild and recreate this narrative within ourselves once again. Gigantia and all the temples shall rise again as we remember who we are. So another sea break. This is Ramla Bay and the cave here, just to cool down from all of this. And then I just have a few more aspects to show you on this journey. As we've gone into the caves, into the temples on the mainland of Malta, on Gozo. And then this little surprise sprung up on our last day. My husband went off with the kids to swimming in St. Paul's Bay once we checked out, and I went to the airport with my mother and then came back into Valletta myself. So I had a few hours of time by myself to wander in this magnificent city and just go where I wanted. You know, it's just such a luxury. So I was looking for the Church of Mary Magdalene, and my sense of direction isn't great, but I was just following. You can see it's all these gorgeous narrow alleys that you can see down to the sea. It's really beautiful and was very hot. I could literally feel the sweat dripping off me. Lovely image. And I just came upon this place, Mysterium Fidei. Mysterium Fidei. And with the cross above, like, does this earth witch enter into this space? And what drew me in actually was a plaque about St. Catherine, and my niece is called Catherine. I thought, okay, I'll go in here, and it looks pretty cool inside. And this is a monastery for nuns that lived in an enclosed order from the time they went in until their death and beyond. So they did not commune or communicate with any other people other than themselves, a closed order of nuns. And they are also buried in there too. It was such a magnificent surprise, you know, when you come across a place that's such a gem, such a hidden jewel in amongst the hustle and bustle of the city, the heat. You go in here and it's like going into this holy, holy place that's so full of beauty and peace and reverence. So I went in and spent some time in here, and I actually download the app to listen to the audio, and I actually listened to the audio going through all the different rooms and hearing the story of these nuns and their lives. And it was narrated in the most beautiful, exquisite voice that in itself was like a mystical experience that went beyond words. But why I bring this up is I also felt a Magdalene laundry aspect to it, but a Magdalene laundry that was healing or had been healed because of the real holy nature of this place. So the nuns lived here, but also girls were brought here. Unruly girls were brought here to become nuns. So were brought here, and many never left. And there's a story of one of the knights, the Grand Masters, who brought his niece here at the age of 13, kicking and screaming and being held in one of the rooms. And when I went in, it was this bare stone room with doors, and I got chills all over. Chills all over. Where these girls were brought to be tamed. Now, I didn't get a sense of anything untowards other than being brought against your will and locked up in a place that you probably never left. So some of them did end up becoming nuns here and living out their life here. So I moved between the reverence and the beauty, and then the chill and the horror of the place. But they actually did the laundry for themselves and the monks down the road. Huh. So it felt like a quality of a Magdalene laundry where a lot of healing had been done. What else do I want to say about here? I felt the presence of Mary Magdalene here. There was a beautiful garden here that was very hot, but there was shade and there were roses. There was a cat that followed me about, and there was a tortoise in this little pond here as well. So yeah, a very, very unexpected mystical experience. Here's the cat here, followed me about and stopped there. The other aspect that I didn't take a picture of was that they were buried here, the nuns, and the skull and bones of one of the nuns was on display in one of the cases in the burial room that felt kind of creepy and very sacred as well. So yeah, Mysterium Fidei, which I know does stand for the mysteries. And it feels like these words want to be reclaimed from a goddess witch perspective. So finally, we cannot leave this webinar without gazing upon the beauty of the sleeping lady. This beautiful being the sleeping goddess is what I call her. That is now, was found in the Hypogeum, which sadly I didn't make to. You have to book tickets 3 months in advance if you're going to Malta. Book tickets for the Hypogeum first. And she was found down a spiral staircase, stone staircase, in the deepest cavern of the Hypogeum, hidden away. And she is tiny. I've got a replica here. I bought a magnet and a replica that is, she is this kind of size. And sadly, when I came back, I dropped her and her head came off. So again, is this the message? To become the embodied leader, as one of my friends told me. This is the journey to get into our body. So it was just kind of funny that her head came off. And yeah, one of my Magdalene Witch friends speaks of the journey of leadership with Medusa losing her head, not losing it, getting it chopped off. So the sleeping lady, it was actually Veronica Goodchild, who I interviewed for my summit, told me, when you go to Malta, you have to visit the sleeping lady. So she's in the museum in Valletta that I went to, the Museum of Archaeology. Oh my goodness. So this museum houses many of the engraved stones with the spirals and dots and snake features. And now I do wish I had taken more photos. There was a tour going around while I was there that were really noisy and annoying me. And I had already switched off the audio so I could just immerse myself. But luckily, the sleeping lady is held in a glass case on her own in a darkened room in the museum. And I had it to myself. I went in and out 3 times. I just had to keep coming back to see her. And I sat on the bench opposite her and just gazed at her tiny form, her voluptuous bottom with her gorgeous decorated skirt and feet, and the bed that she's on is indented to show her weight upon this bed, this throne. And look at her lying there with her strong arms, sleeping with a cushion as well. And her face is so delicate, and she's engraved on the back as well. And look at her breasts. It's like she's just guarding her breasts as well. She's just so exquisite. So I sat there and I asked, sleeping lady, why am I here? Why am I here communing with you? What is your message? Do you get the hint of demand in there? I'm on a time limit here. I've got to catch my flight, meet the family, catch my flight home. What's your message? So I think I had to keep going back 3 times. And what I got from her, wait for it, was that I've been sleeping for eons. And now it is time for the sleeping lady to awaken and rise. So the sleeping lady is wakening. The sleeping lady is rising to share her wisdom now. And it also demonstrated to me the divinity of timing and the patience. And did we know? I feel we probably did know prophetically. We knew we could see into the future of what would happen. The plundering, the distortions, the power controls that are at play and still are. We knew these would happen. So all of these carvings, look how intricate and detailed they are. Like this is like 7,000 plus years old. And then you go on to the Bronze Age and it's clunkier stuff in the museum. It's clunkier. This is so fine. And go on to the museum website and you'll see other carvings and ornaments that are as exquisitely carved. The jewelry, and some are tiny. They're tiny. So that's her. The sleeping lady has been asleep and now is awakening for these times. So it's a beautiful moment of communion with her. That was found in the 3rd floor, like the lowest recesses down the spiral staircase of the hypogeum. And that's it. Wow. The sleeping lady has a final word. And Michelle's saying her arms look to be in the same position as the others. Yeah. So, you know, it's looking at these creations and the symbology, because we're so symbolic. Our ancestors knew to speak to us in symbols, as did the stones know how to speak to us through symbology as well. So what's the symbology here? What are the messages that are coming through for you? The other aspects of my notes that I'll briefly share were just asking the questions of, were these temples, especially the first two temples that I showed you, was it the first two temples? Yeah. Were there alignments to Orion as well? I was wondering, because I know in Orkney there are alignments to the belt of Orion, and is that the case in Malta as well? Because there's so many sites that I didn't get to. There's stone circles. Yeah, that was just a question. And Sirius, the rising and the setting of Sirius, the star. Is this the cycles of birth, death, rebirth, telling the stories in phases over thousands, hundreds of thousands of years of our ancients for these times? So thank you for walking with me upon the lands of Malta and Gozo, of traveling, navigating the salty seas to Camino, and to listening to what I have to share, what's come through me, walking these lands, and the awakening of these codes, these galactic codes. There's a resonance from these sacred sites and the ley lines that we are now awakening to. And I could see roses blooming again along these ley lines to heal them, to bring them back online, to support us with our ascension. So hello, hi Valerie, hi Katerina from Germany. Valerie always wanted to visit Malta. Yeah, it's beautiful. Would carving raised up out of the stone be more ancient? Yeah, perhaps, yeah, as with hieroglyphs in Egypt. Exactly, it's raised up, isn't it? Older are raised and newer are carved into the stone. Aha, yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Absolutely. Yeah, it's very interesting and personal as well, isn't it? And how it speaks to you. Tris, Katerina saying thank you so much, and Michelle's sharing, I really enjoyed my holiday in Malta. Oh, there's loads of chat here. Let me make it bigger. Let me make myself smaller so the chat can be bigger. I think Orion is just above Sirius. Oh, yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, because she has a map here on the back of the book. We've got Sirius, and then over the way is Orion. Don't know if you can see that. That's the map of Sirius, and then that's the book, big form, that I'm dipping in and out of, just getting, you know, different bits of information. Thank you so much for transporting me to sacred time and place whilst making beds and working. I love that. Best mini break ever. For so long I've wanted to visit. It will happen now. Yeah, divine timing. You know, that was 2019. It came through to go there, and then 2022, and then eventually 2023. We went there. It is a privilege to have been there. And Michelle said, I enjoyed my holiday in Malta. Thanks for taking me. You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you, and bless you from Canada. Thanks, Trish. Rama is saying the sleeping lady pose also to rest and listen for guidance and direction, integration, clarity, and then awakening. I love that. Yeah. And that's so very feminine, isn't it? Leslie Ann, thank you for a wonderful experience of your holiday in Malta. Love the Mysterium, Fidei, and the sleeping lady. A lot of the stones reminded me of honeycomb, yeah, and the connection to bee. You'll have a good reason to go back. Absolutely, yeah. Hi from Dorchester. Hi, Francesca. Dorchester, Dorset. Hello. Hi, Mairead. Very interesting. Thank you, Karina. Such a wonderful experience, connected somehow with Venus going retrograde. Yes. Yes. And I had my rose quartz here to settle in, and I bought this beautiful bracelet in Valletta. There was a gorgeous crystal shop right on the main street, in Victoria in Gozo, and she actually smudged. She's like, would you like me to clear the energy before I give it to you? She smudged the crystals before giving it to us. The two girls got bracelets too. And just while I remember, I'm reading through these, Lead Like a Magdalene Witch starts on Thursday. So although it says in Romans closed, you are welcome to join us if you want to walk the lands with us. And all of this infused stuff, whatever is going on from Malta, will be part of this program as well. So I've put the link in the chat. If you're on YouTube, go to my website, emerstassen.com. I didn't do any sales pitches during that presentation, did I? My usual interludes. Yes. Such a wonderful experience. Yeah, connected with Venus going retrograde. I read that, Karina. Thank you. Katerina, I visited Malta in 1995 for the first time. I felt like home. And thank you for reminding me, Katerina, because when I arrived and we met, the lady showed us to our farmhouse, to the villa, there was that instant, this is home, and I don't want to leave. It was like both. This is home. I don't want to leave this place. So it really felt like home. And then I was glad to get back to the cool of Scotland because of the heat. The heat for our Celtic skin. It was very hot. It was beautiful. Thank you for the lovely revisiting your deep musings. Thank you, Sarah. Michelle, oh, and the ash tree is known as the Venus of the woods. Oh, yes. Tracy, hello from Australia. Rich weavings continue. Thanks, Emer from Oz. Oh, thank you for getting up at sunrise in Australia. No, is that right? No, I've gone the other way. It's not. It's like 9 o'clock, is it, or something? Rama, you brought back a lovely pink golden sun-kissed glow. Yeah, I did. And like I had my hat on and shades, and yeah, we did get the sun. Maria, many years ago, I used to listen to a CD called Returning that was recorded in the caves on Malta. Wow, gonna check that out. Tracy, no, it's an easy hour this time. Yeah, I decided to go early to commune with you all, because it is school holidays here, as it is for many of you. So I said I'd do something with Owen, actually, this afternoon, if I can tear him away from his Xbox. Reality, here I am walking the lands of Malta, and he's in there playing FIFA on his Xbox. Anyway, thank you all. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being here live on YouTube. Let's see. Valerie, love and gratitude. Rick. Oh, my name, Aster, is derived from Ishtar, another name for Venus. I love that. So I try to understand the symbolism. Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. Ishtar. Yes. Love that. Yeah, that's it. That's our journey. There is more, I'm sure. There may be a part 2, I don't know. There's the salt flats on Malta where salt is harvested. It's really beautiful. And let's see what else percolates in our goddess bodies that we are fully reclaiming as we step back on our throne as Magdalenes, as witches, as Ishtar, as children of the cosmos. We are back. Claire saying thank you so very much, Emer. I'm bedbound, ill, long term. Oh, and you've given me a little piece of somewhere else. That is so beautiful. So much blessings to you, Claire. Wish you a lovely day. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's been wonderful. Sending so much love to you here live, and to all of you who watch the replay. which is on YouTube. So I will send that out shortly. Tracy is sharing, Emer, so many moments. I'm taken to caves from my Greek journeys, reclaiming for sure. So pleased I found you. Well, she did. Oh, yes. And I've loved journeying with you over the last few years, Tracy, since we connected. And all of you, it really is such an honor, you know, really just to go on holidays and then to be able to share the beauty. I love that. And it's not planned. It's just the whispers that come through that keep whispering until I go, okay, I need to share this. So thank you. Oh, Lalesh League in Port Lisha. It was cut off there. I thought you were in Portland. So you're closer to home in Ireland. And very appropriate, breastfeeding and Venus and the voluptuousness of her nourishment and her milk, sustaining us all. That's it. Until we meet again, if any of you want to join the program to lead onwards like a Magdalene witch, let me know. The details are there. Ah, Breed. Hi, Breed. Undercover. Can't change my name. That's all right. We know who you are now. Take care, everyone. Have a beautiful day, evening, morning. Reclaiming the holidays for the goddess. Lots of love to you all. Long live Malta and her stories that she wishes to share with us now as we remember who we are.